I have a confession.
Yes.
And I think that all of you SDs will really appreciate this, but the number of hair care products, styling, shampoos, conditioners I have in my closet rivals, and shower, probably rivals what Sybil has in hers. Because, you get one and you try it once, you're like, nope, that's crap. And then you try another and that too is crap, but you're too cheap to throw them away. So your closet is filled. Maybe one day I'll be able to use that one.
So as an esthetician, I'm going to tell you that I've been listening to Alex talk about hair care products for a long time. And mostly I just roll my eyes and I'm like, yeah, mm-hmm. And then second, yes. And by the way, it's never that you're too cheap. It's that you've spent money on them. So you're now like you're invested in them.
I'm invested. It's my friend.
And so it's very hard to get rid of them. Estheticians know. We're like, look at our shelves and are like, but that one didn't work, but it's still part of our family now.
Right. And I only use like 3 pumps. And so to throw this away seems like.
It's why we have people we have to give them to. We understand. We understand.
So true. I'm saving it. I'm going to give it to someone next week.
We understand. But I will tell you that I've been on the same hair care for, 10 years now, and mine's great. Mm-hmm. So
I know if you guys aren't watching the video,
and I'm not as fond of it, so it makes me sad.
No, if you're not watching this video, you need to come and watch it and see Sybil's awesome new hair color.
I look amazing. I'm so happy. It was worth every penny. I'm so excited. My friend Lisanne, who is a sugarer out here in Vegas and now is in Buffalo or Minnesota, she's in both places, recommended this awesome hairdresser, and it was worth the wait.
Yeah. No, the volume too. It looks nice.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is my hair. When it's cut properly.
Yeah, no, I know. It looks great. All right. Let's
all right, guys.
Visual stuff on an audio show for like an hour, okay? Do you see the very thing in my
background? All right, everyone. Let's get started. Hi, I'm Sybil Salon. I'm an esthetician and spa owner.
And hi, I'm Alex Ellis. I'm a body nerd and wellness expert, and we are business besties.
And bosses. Running your own business, it's hard.
But we're terrible employees, so we're figuring it out.
I've already figured it out, but we promise to share everything we know about what it takes to make 6 figures and beyond.
And be brutally honest about what works and what totally sucks.
I'll be honest, a bunch of it totally sucks.
Yes, it does.
So, I know, but we're going to get started today and talk about some awesome things.
Yes, we are. Welcome back to Skinfessional. On today's show, we are talking about late fees, cancellations, prepayments, and COVID cancellations, and being comfortable with actually enforcing those fees.
And the things you should think about that you're not even pricing for.
No, so many things. And I mean, when we're, writing out our notes for today's show, thinking about this new world that we live in, which is slightly less vomit inducing than the new normal. But things are different, right? For those of you who are seeing clients, people are calling in, and we don't want to see people who are sick or coughing or like, if I hear one more person say, oh, it's just allergies, I'm like, no, it's not. We are in a pandemic. It's not allergies. Stay the fuck away, please.
It might be allergies, but we still don't want to see you.
No, I don't want to see you. No, stay very, very
stay away. But at the same time, I don't want you to like cry COVID, where you're like I'm sitting in my bed watching like a serial run of The Crown, and therefore I might have COVID.
First of all, that is like so twisted and fucked up if someone actually is doing that. But second, I think it also reveals what is this person doing that they have COVID scares that frequently. But I guess maybe if they're working, I don't know. As someone who's like literally holed up in my apartment like a goddamn goblin at this point, I can understand being out in the world and running into people and having that problem.
Well, I mean, I was tested so I got tested for COVID 4 times, like in the last 6 months, because I traveled. And so I was very careful. But those are the only times I was tested. And guess what? I didn't book any appointments in any of those times. I like hung out at my home, and that was it between those times.
Right. Well, that's because you're conscientious.
Right. I didn't hang out at parties and stuff. But that's, I did a training. So I did a training here, and I isolated afterward, and I isolated before. I did not test for COVID before or after. I was like, well, I mean, we're all going to get COVID or we're not going to get COVID. That's how it's going to be.
You didn't have everybody else test either?
Nope.
Interesting.
You either have COVID or you don't have COVID. I mean, we're all estheticians. We all take precautions. So I figured, if you were just rando strangers, I'd be like, well, like when I was on planes, I'm like, these are rando strangers. I have no control over those people.
Right.
But estheticians, we were already all doing all of these things, like washing your hands, being careful, sanitizing the thing. Like, who trained you how to wash your hands?
You.
That's right. Like, you know how to wash your hands pre-COVID because an esthetician taught you how.
My dad is still mad that I told him that he never taught me to wash my hands.
But you know who taught me how to wash my hands that deeply? A doctor that I worked for.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh my God, what are you doing? You need to wash your hands properly. Let me show you how. Because it wasn't my mom who taught me how. It was a doctor. It's like, damn, girl, let's think about like washing your hands a little bit better than just like, what? Okay, good.
Woo, it's magic. It's clean.
Right. I mean, he's like, let's literally like do this with intention and like really get that stuff clean.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, that's a good point too, and like things to consider, because I feel like we're also at a point where like literally everybody has it. I was just listening. This is like a total tangent, but NPR this morning was saying that they're doing mathematical models of like how many people have actually had COVID, and it at any given time it's probably like 10 times what is actually being reported and tested. And just like,
I mean, it's very possible. I mean, but like I keep saying, I probably had it. You can watch the episodes where I probably had it. Alex was with me and she was fine.
Yeah. Which now I'm like, okay, am I an alien? All this time I thought you were
or just like a carrier who's quiet about it.
I know. What if all this time? I don't know. Well, I did take a test,
but with love.
And I was negative, so yay.
But you just were sitting at home, so nobody knew. Who cared?
Nobody cared. Well, I felt bad because my cleaning lady had come. I had seen my parents,
But did your cleaning lady ever get it? Did your parents get it?
No, because we were all negative because we wore fucking masks. Shocking, right?
And you know how to wash your hands.
Yeah. Well, when someone said I have allergies, I was like, okay, great. Let me just put on my KN95 and stay really far away from you and not be in your home. Okay, thanks.
That's right. That's right. And we all started wearing, so I know that every esthetician I talked to, as soon as, we knew that we're supposed to be starting to wear masks, we all started wearing our masks when we were working on people. When people came into the office, we had them sit at a distance. I mean, I immediately, when this started happening, I was like, okay, I switched my entire protocol in my office. And it was, you walked in one door, another client walked out another door. They never saw never saw each other. These were the protocols we already put into place before anyone was told us that we had to. And I know every esthetician I know did this. Mm-hmm. So guys, this is how the world is. But what we need to think about is how to make sure that, because we're living in a world now where you're not seeing as many clients and, you can't book back-to-back facials and that means your revenue stream is cut. And this is happening for a little bit of time. What are the things that you need to be doing for yourself to be pricing so that you are okay? And it's not even just COVID pricing. We've had these conversations about pricing about all kinds of things. Alex, you don't even per se see COVID clients. And we just had a conversation about something about pricing.
Yeah. Well, and also, I've seen stuff on social media as well of people who are like, hey, look, there's been a lot of cancellations. And so now I'm starting a cancellation policy or late fee policy, and then apologizing for it. And like, I mean, I get that too, because, I was just setting up a new booking software and they're like, put your cancellation policy here. And I'm just like, what is my cancellation policy? Like, I haven't really thought about it, because regardless if people are seeing you in person or online, like, it is your time. And that is really what we're trying to set up these boundaries for clients to respect, is our time. So even if I saw you for 5 minutes and then something happened and you had to leave, which I know is something that happened to you recently, Sybil, or we got the whole session through and then I was having such a great time and I went longer, like, it's your time and it matters.
Yeah. So I just switched. So guys, I have a very strict cancellation policy. I've had it for forever. In fact, my cancellation policy, on my business cards, my business information is on the front, and a booking, like, you can have like your appointment like reminder on the back. Almost nobody uses it because like this is an old school world where like who actually uses business cards, right? But listen, I'm an old school girl and I have a few clients who still like want to write it down. On the back of that card is my business cancellation policy. On my old school menu was my cancellation policy.
What's your cancellation policy?
Yeah, I mean, I've had a policy for a long time. So the cancellation policy is that you need to give me 24 hours notice. And if you do not, I will charge you 50%. You know, if you no show on me, it's 100. And everybody gets one note, like a cancellation a year for free, because I call it like the life happens. Mm-hmm. If you no show on me though, you're dead to me. Like you best call, like you will get the phone call from me, be like, hi, you better be dead on the freeway. Right? You better never no show on me.
No, it's
I get
so
super
rude.
pissed.
It's so rude.
So disrespectful. And so what happens if people know, if you get a call from me like, hi, this is Sybil. You had an appointment at 1:15. Where are you? Mm-hmm. And like people are like, oh my God, so I forgot. No, just charge me. It's fine. Mm-hmm. Right. And often if they actually say, just charge me, it's fine. I'll just be like, listen, I'm going to charge you. You know, we have a one time, like, it's fine. Like you forgot, like life happens, right? Mm-hmm. But if somebody like starts giving me shit about it, I'm charging around.
You can't be rude. Okay, so let's talk about the situation that you recently had online.
So, yeah. So guys, life is different now. So I'm a badass when it comes to cancellation policies. I'm super mean about it, right? So I'm sitting on a Zoom call doing a thing, and a client from a long time, she's like, oh my God, I'm on the call for like 5 minutes. And she's like, oh my God, you know, my kid, he's having trouble at school. His teacher's calling me, and like, I gotta go. I gotta bounce. And I'm like, okay, well, no problem. I'll just, I'll send you an invoice and I'll just charge you. And she's like, wait, what? I barely went on this call. Can we just reschedule? I'm like, of course we can reschedule, but I still need to charge you for your time, for this call. And she goes, well, that's not fair. And I was just like, wait, what? It's not fair to me either. Like, what? And like, I was taken so aback that she would even say it, because it's like a long time customer, guys. So therefore there's a part of me that's like,
you should know better.
Yeah. And all the things go in your head too, where I'm like, well, you know, this is a person who, she's a mom, she's struggling. She's like, she's thinking about like the fact that she has to go deal with a kid, and like, she's now 15 things at home. She's got trauma in her life. And so I think to myself, customer care wise, I don't want to be a dick, but I also want to make money, and money, I'm not making enough of it. But I just stop, and I'm like, you know what? Don't worry about it. We'll talk, you know, I'll get back to you about this later. Mm-hmm. And that's it. And I'm like, okay, I'll talk to you later, and I'll get back to you how we're going to handle it. And I'll just like go of the call.
Yeah. I really like that, of a way to like get out of the situation. Like, you know, you go handle that. I'm going to think about this. I'll reach out to you. Because you also, you don't have to have an answer in that moment all the time for every single person. You can walk away. That's totally fine.
Right. Because like what's happening in this time, and I know what's happening, is like she's giving me her true at that moment response of, this isn't fair. Mm-hmm. Right. Whereas maybe if she was sitting in my office, she might just be like, okay. And then like hate me. Mm-hmm. Right. Or we might have a different kind of dialogue about it, you know, but we don't have that time. This is literally a second choice. And I don't have to make that choice, but she needs to walk away, and I need to think about it. Mm-hmm. But it made me think, I need to actually have a policy for this, because this is something that can happen again and again. And if it makes me uncomfortable, it's going to make my client uncomfortable. And I never want that ever to happen.
So what did you end up doing with this client?
So with that client, I realized that my policy has always been, everybody still gets a life happens. And this is technically a life happens. Yeah, she was in the room, but she might not have been. If this was an appointment in my office, she might have like been in the room and had to have left, or she might not have ever made it. She might have been in her car on her way or something. I don't know. Life happens. Mm-hmm. And I was like, you know what? Whatever. So, well, you are coming from a place of like, you're a fear yourself. And so shut that down. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, you know what? Policy stays the same. But I did look at my policy as I needed to change my like Zoom call time meetings, whereas my policy for payment is now 30 minutes are at a certain price. Anything up to 60 minutes is a different price. because sometimes those meetings go past that 30-minute mark.
Mm-hmm.
And even if they go over that 30-minute mark by like 5 minutes, they now move into that next pricing schedule.
And you're not having them pay up front, are you?
I am going to start having them pay up front.
Okay.
That is the next part of that policy.
Yeah. Because I would just say, like, something I do is I have them pay up front. And the call is booked for a specific amount of time. And then it's just up to you to respect that boundary of the time and like end the call when it's appropriate.
Well, and also there's something that happens that if they pay up front, that money's already gone. And so they don't think about it as much. Like it's not money in hand where they have to pay for something that they've missed. You know, if she had come back to me afterwards and be like, hey, I missed that call. Can I reschedule it? And wait, I have to pay for it again. I'd probably be like, yeah, it's on the house. But if she never said anything, I would just like charge her again.
Right.
That puts the onus on them.
Yeah. So what are you going to do? So a different pricing tier for 30-minute to like a 30 to 60-minute call. And what is your cancellation for, or what are you thinking is going to be your cancellation for these virtual calls?
Yeah. So the cancellation for these virtual calls is I actually decided I wanted my virtual call cancellations to be 72 hours because I wanted more time on them. And I think it gives more respect to the timing because I've been getting a lot of 24-hour cancellations, and I realized I'm like, I don't want this. I want 72 hours cancellation, and which was something I was working towards in my spot anyways, just to get people taken care of for that. And I know that if they want more than if they want 24-hour cancellation, that they'll probably contact me and I'll manage that one-on-one.
Oh, if they're like closer to that deadline.
Yeah, if they're close to that deadline. And also I'll see how it goes. Like, I don't know about you, Alex, but have you ever just like kind of like moved something around and then just like see how it goes?
Oh, totally. And I think of like setting it up so that you can have those one-to-one conversations and like make that decision on the fly, put you in a position where then it's like, oh, look how great you are at customer care, and makes them feel special and taken care of and cared about.
Because it is one of those things that I'm finding that with the COVID land, planning ahead is horrible. It's terrible. But if you know that we kind of have to set boundaries, I've discovered. If you set a boundary of like, you have to make that decision, people will be like, listen, I had to do it. And therefore it's set in stone now. And it's done. Yeah. I can't move it. Yeah. It's done.
Yeah.
Whereas you put that 24 hours and people are like, well, I still have 24 hours to make a decision. I'm just going to change it. But I think people know 3 days in advance whether they want to move it or not.
Right. If it's truly something and not just like a last minute.
Right. And like sometimes last minute stuff happens, like kids, whatever, and then they can contact me directly.
Yeah. Okay. So there's the cancellation policy is 72 hours. So what happens if they do cancel within that 72 hours?
I'm still giving people the life happens. But 72 hours, they get 72 hours once one life happens. One life happens. After that, they've prepaid the money. I'll give them 50% back. So 50% back still goes to them.
Okay.
I'm still a firm believer that I did not take this you didn't take my full time.
Right.
I am fine. You no-show on my ass and I sat around and I didn't rebook that spot because like I didn't know I could. Your money is mine, bitch.
Yeah. Okay. So now I have, as we're talking about this, for my own personal use case, a question. So I book calls with clients who are essentially prepaid on membership, right? So they have a call booked, but they haven't necessarily paid for that call because they pay for that call in their monthly thing. And as I was, again, setting up this new booking software, I was just like, so what is my policy if you reschedule and cancel because you haven't really paid? Like, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
They maybe don't like value it as much.
Yeah. It's like, it's
they
different.
Don't have that money, once again, they have money in hand.
Yeah. Yeah. So like, for example, I have a client who pays $200 a month and then they get access to my entire membership and they have all of that, all the benefits with that. Plus every 90 days, we have a one-on-one call.
Right.
So like, and I sent a reminder, a week ahead and he rescheduled. So I'm like, cool, no problem. That's why I reminded you a week ahead. But like, what about late cancels? Like, what would you do in that situation?
Well, I mean, so you have to decide for yourself, you have to decide how annoying it is for late cancels. Like, are you a person where you're like, late canceling is pissing me off because it's taking up space in my schedule? It's like, so does that take up space in your schedule, Alex?
Right now, well, here's the other thing. Right now, no, it's one person.
But
But
it might.
thinking forward, when
Yeah.
it's potentially, 20 people, this is why, I
Yeah.
talk about systems and processes. Like,
Right.
set yourself up now for the business you want to have, not the business you have currently.
Exactly. And so I ask this question because people at home, I'll be like, hey guys, so when you're doing this, I kind of make choices about what I'm doing with stuff like this. So I know that for me, I would always set up these one-on-ones. First of all, I'd set up these one-on-ones in places that I know that if people cancel, like I'm cool,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Okay.
Right. So I'm like, end of my day, beginning of my day, something like that, where I'm like, you know what? If people's canceled, I'm like, cool, I'm fine. And we all have clients like that where we're like, well, they no show. I know this person's a canceler. I just go to lunch. I go home early. It's fine. It doesn't make me angry.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like this is my prime Saturday 10 a.m. slot. I am angry.
Or
right?
the 5 a.m. Like I've heard, like personal trainers will have like the 5 a.m. spot and the person cancels the night before or whatever. Just
right. And you're like, I will kill you. I will destroy your soul. I will hunt your family down. Right. Yeah. So you never want to be that. You never want to have that responsibility. So I might make sure that I have like if I could, I might schedule all of those one-on-ones if I possibly can, even if I have to do one-on-ones every day of the week or 4 days of the week or whatever, in those kind of spots.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That way, if you have cancellations, there you go there. And then, I'd set up a cancellation, policy where it's like, if you cancel, you get like one that you get to like no show or cancel, whatever. And then after that, you don't get any more. I just like take them because I don't want to like charge you an extra money, but I'm just going to take them away from you.
Right.
Or like I penalize you, like you don't get any more for 3 months.
Yeah.
Right. Do this two times, you don't get any more ever.
Right.
Right. You just it's a penalty thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Because like I think charging money within a membership is extra hard.
Yeah.
Right. But I mean, everybody, it's a choice that you could make yourself.
Yeah.
But especially like people are already paying for that membership, but you do want to show value. And then if you could find a way to reward people for showing up to their one-on-ones, that's always good too.
That's the reward.
I mean, but like, any extra way somebody can find a reward where like you put out and you're like, hey, somebody did an amazing one-on-one on me. This is like, hey, this is the lessons they've learned.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and so I have 2 tiers in my membership, that higher, more VIP level, and then also just like the regular membership. And one option I have in there is if they do want some one-to-one help outside of what's already included, that they can book it at for a fee. And so for that one, I'm definitely going to put like a cancellation policy in place just to like, I think there's this like informality that kind of comes around with online stuff. And so we definitely have to be just like, know your boundaries, like know your line and stick to your line, even when it's uncomfortable. But really thinking it through and having something that you can be comfortable with, I think is going to make the whole process easier.
Comfortable and specific.
Yeah.
So comfortable. So Alex and I, what kind of spawned this was a bunch of stuff. But one of the things that really kind of honed this down was somebody on IG that I follow just posted that they were doing a late fee. Mm-hmm. So guys in this land, like LA, I know that I call something, I literally have this thing where I call it LA on time. It's because every client is 15 minutes late and it's called LA on time.
Well, so
I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm late. I'm like, you're LA on time.
You could get everywhere in 20 minutes and then inevitably you always run into traffic. And
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You're still LA on time. It's 15 minutes late, LA on time, right? So I just plan for you to probably be 15 minutes late. I just schedule it into my life, right? 15 minutes late is LA on time.
Yeah.
Right. And I just come to those terms when I lived in Los Angeles. Right.
Totally.
So back-to-back clients, 15 minutes late, LA on time. But somebody just posted that she's like, I'm implementing a late fee. And I was like, damn, that is strong. Mm-hmm. Right. She's like, I'm charging you $10, which by the way is not that expensive. Mm-hmm. Like I was like, $10 is nothing. But it's maybe enough to make people be like, maybe I shouldn't be late. Mm-hmm. Right. But then it was super complicated.
Well, yeah, she had, different appointment lengths, and each late fee had a different, or each appointment length had a different late fee. And I think, just like you were saying, with specificity and clarity, like there is one late fee. And so maybe if you have a 15-minute appointment and that cancellation fee is $25, well, don't be late and it won't matter.
Right. I'm like, if you want to do a percentage, like maybe she was afraid. She's like, I put down this $10 late fee. And then she was like, but if your eyebrows are only going to be like $15 and then it's like half the, in her mind, she like freaked out maybe.
Yeah.
And instead of just being like, well, you know what? Late fees are 15% of the cost of your service.
Yeah. That's a great way. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Scary as F. Like whatever. You're like, damn, that's a lot of money. Or you get 15% of your fee up to $10. You could do that.
Yeah.
Right. This is what credit card companies do. They understand late fees so well. You want to understand late fees? Talk to credit card companies.
Or even like, oh my God, your bank's like, oh, you overdrafted 10 cents, $25 late or overdraft fee. And I'm like,
$25, $50, girl.
No, I know. Well, I just write him an email like, oh, excuse me, I'm so sorry. It really works. Okay, I have to say, don't do this with your service providers, but I don't give two shits about credit cards and your bank. You truly can message them and just be very gracious and apologetic. And I have yet to have someone just straight up say no to my face about overturning late fees. Just gonna.
So, by the way, you probably can do this with your service provider because once again, what did I say? If you call me and you're kind, I'll probably just be like, you know what? I'm going to let you go because it means that you were valuing my time. You thought about me and you didn't mean to do it. You weren't doing it because you were a dick, right? Even if you're like, Sybil, I was watching The Crown. I couldn't leave my home and I'm so sorry. It was just too much.
It was too much. It's too much.
It was just too much today. I'm like, well, you could have called. It was too much, this is literally a true story. It was too much.
Oh my gosh.
We all had days where sometimes life is too much. Yeah. So, I give you the life happens.
Yeah.
I've also had the person who's like, true story. I was on my way to an appointment to you and I had to go to the dentist because I was picking up toothpaste. I have a special toothpaste. And then she talked to me about a movie and I was like, I want to see that. And then I went to the movies and I forgot I was supposed to be seeing you.
Wow.
This is a true story.
When did this happen? Like how many years ago?
This was a client. She clearly has ADD because
I was like,
this is probably 9 years ago. But because I called her, I was like, hey, where are you? Like, you like what? And she's like, you will not believe what happened.
And she was like in the movie theater?
No, she'd gotten out and she was like, I got your message and realized I was supposed to be an appointment with you, but I just saw a movie instead.
I love it. I mean, that's a classic story. Okay, so what have we learned so far? You got to be charging late fees. You got to have policies in place. You're going to make mistakes and be in uncomfortable situations and then have to like gracefully leave the conversation by being like, whoa, I just threw something off my desk, but saying, let me get back to you on that. Totally fine. But clarity and specificity in your fee structure. So whatever you can do to have that one fee to rule them all. So I really like too that, 15% up to $10 or whatever it might be.
Right.
But $10, that's no skin in the game. I feel like $20. Come on.
I feel like $10 seems like, so guys, when you're setting your fees and your stuff, you have to be comfortable with them because you have to implement them, right? So you have to know that you can stand up tall and like say that you're going to take this fee and then take the fee like Game of Thrones style, right? Like you got to be like, I'm going to take it and I'm going to take it from you. And guys, it's hard. Like I'm a badass with cancellation fees, but like there are definitely times where the person leaves and I'm like, oh, right? It can be hard. You have to just trust that they're not going to hate you. Because I think that the number one reason that we don't really want to implement any of these fees is because we're like, they're going to leave us. They're going to hate us. They're going to talk smack about us. Right. We have a lot of fear. We have a lot of fear with these fees.
So much fear. Well, let me tell you about some of my own fear. It's just interesting too, like what it's not even like conflict with client, but just like something happens and like what your go-to like reaction is. So I just completed a launch period, which means that, you know, I'm sending out a bunch of emails, I'm showing up on social media, I'm talking about Movement Mavens and the promise and the offer like a lot. And I see that just that like agitation, not in the negative sense, but just like things are happening. And so clients are reminded, hey, I'm not where you say I should be. Like, what's going on? Or, you know, I'm kind of lost here. Like, can you help me? So I got an email from a client who I haven't heard from in a super long time, who hasn't been involved in the group. Maybe they're lurking. It doesn't really seem like they have been, but fallen off the edge of the abyss, haven't seen them. And so this email comes through of just like, hey, I need some help. I don't really like the problem that I joined for is still there. And I don't really like one of the lines was, you know, I don't really see how your process could work, which I'm just like, well, you've been in this membership for like 6 months and like now you're throwing doubt at this, but okay. And I've been doing some physical therapy and it doesn't really help. Here's what I've been doing. So my gut reaction is just like, oh my God, please like me. Don't hate me. I should give you my time for free. Right. I want you to be my friend.
Right.
And then I hit pause. And then I mean, maybe you guys have someone in your life like this too, where I'm like, well, what would Sybil do in this situation? And then it was also, and what would Kim do in this situation? Right. And so I texted both of them. And you had a great response, which was like, well, find out like what's been going on. Where has she been? Now, funnily enough, I wrote this email out. I never got a response from her, but she signed up for something else. So more on that. But I was just like, and the first email I wrote also was like still kind of accusatory and a little bit like, well, you haven't been doing this, you know?
Right.
And so I wrote it and then I walked away. I literally went on a walk with my dog and was thinking about it. And I was talking to Kim about it, about like what I wanted to actually say. And like, at the end of the day, right? Customer care. Yeah. And I want this person to have the result that she wants. I also have set up all of the ways for that to happen that don't require me to give my time for free. So that's what I did, right? Hey, I'm so sorry, or that, things are so bothering you. I'm so glad you reached out. What about your plan has been really hard for you to get established with? Right? Like, what about it is repulsing you? And by the way, I totally see that your physical therapy hasn't been working because it only focuses on this. And that's why we do this inside the membership, and then here's 3 options. Here's a class that we do that you have access to. Come join us on the next one. If you want more one-on-one accountability support, let's talk about private coaching. If you want to book a one-off one call, you can do that. Here's all of your options. And then I saw in the membership that she had signed up for that free call. So if anything, it got her back and involved, which I think your note too of just like, well, why, like, coach her on it. Why is she out of the loop? Like, what was it? And I think that was like really super insightful. But I just also want you to know, like, your first trigger is going to be like, oh my God, please don't hate me. And like wanting to give
and then your second one will be like, well, fuck them. It's them.
Yeah.
So that's completely normal, guys. Guys, and that's how it is. And just, for me to get to the point where I was like to Alex, where I was like, well, why? That is, I forced myself to that third response and that is just a trained habit for customer care to be like, no, put yourself in their shoes. I'm going to have to ask why.
Yeah.
Right. You have to ask why. And then assume that it's you, not them. Even though it might not be, but just make that assumption because you always have something valuable to learn. Because if everything was going perfectly, you would not have a conversation from them.
Yeah.
You always have a lesson to learn, even if they seem crazy.
Well, it's like, I send you the emails and I set the table up for you. But if they don't come to the table, then obviously I didn't make it enticing enough.
Right. Their craziest client always has something to teach you. That's a lesson I've learned. The craziest client always has something to teach you. You might not want to hear it, but they have something to teach you. It doesn't mean that they're right, but they have something to teach you.
Yeah. And this back to systems and processes. I think at this point for anyone, but especially for myself, that having a document that is like, response, like guidelines on. I was listening to a podcast and my girl, Amy Porterfield, phrased it in such a way where it's just like, here's some things you could say, right? But it's not a canned response and that it doesn't have to be exactly that, but here's a template from which to start because I know that this is going to come up again.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just really want to state, guys, that understand that when you are dealing with any kind of raising prices and creating new policies, you are going to come from a place of fear at some point where you're going to be like, I don't want to do this. I'm not ready. It's not the right time. Guys, it's never the right time in your mind. It's never the right time. You're never going to feel comfortable with it. You just have to do it and then see what happens and let it run. But if you don't do it, you're doing yourself a disservice, which means at the end of the day, you're doing your clients a disservice because what will happen is you will start feeling angry, emotional. You'll make less money.
Resentful.
You'll work too hard, which means you're not taking care of yourself. Right. And you're also doing the other clients who are getting backed up, so you have clients that are late, which means that they're not, the other clients behind them are not getting their full services or aren't getting the full amount of you because your energy isn't right. Right. There's all these things that happen because you're not as happy in your job.
Yeah.
Right.
That also, I feel like I need to provide an update on this, right? We're super afraid of raising prices and like what people are going to think and all this stuff. This launch period I just ended, I had the same number of people. I had 11 people join, which is same as I've had all these other ones, which is fantastic. I raised my price $10 and I did not show up and give as much away for free in the form of free classes as I have in the past. And the people still came. So
amazing,
right?
They still wanted the content. They still wanted you. They were still happy because at the end of the day, they still want you.
Yeah.
They don't need to have all of you. They don't need it all. It's okay.
I'm going to raise more too. So if you want to join, you better join now before I keep raising.
Well worth joining, guys. Well worth joining and following because I keep posting her awesome esthetician exercises. They're so good. They're so good. Last thing I really want to make sure that I talk about when it comes to kind of the things that you might want to be thinking about that you're not thinking about for raising prices or you're not charging for it all is kind of this idea that, we've talked about the fact that you are, you have these late cancellations for COVID and you're dealing with maybe a late cancellation for anything and you have a cancellation policy maybe altogether. But, if you need a policy for, any of your sanitation and stuff like that, you can charge for that. For me personally, I feel that you should just raise your prices to include it and just be included on. But if you feel that you're like, listen, to use my PPE or whatever, I'm going to charge you a small upcharge for that. You can, if it makes you feel better. I know that a lot of estheticians are doing that now. They're like, well, I needed extra gear and stuff for my PPE for COVID. And that way they can drop it off when they don't need it anymore. I
feel like it's going to be such a long time that we need it, though. You might as well just
this
raise
is
your
how
price.
I feel, but many estheticians, it made them more comfortable. And it's a conversation that a lot of people are having right now, where they're just like, to cover all of this, I personally feel that you should just raise your prices across the board. It doesn't have to be much. If you feel that like a $15 raise is going to like cover it, I think that it should be $25 easily. But, you could right now, if you're going to raise prices, now is the time because you can just do it because of COVID. Anything can be blamed on COVID. Be like, due to COVID, all of the manufacturing, everything is just much more expensive. Everything, all my supplies are just much more expensive. And I'm a believer also in not giving people reasons, but if you need to feel better, COVID is a great one.
Yeah, not a given.
Listen, how many people have tried to call a call center and they're like, well, because of COVID, we can't answer your phone calls. And I'm like, are you freaking kidding me right now? I'm pretty sure that phones and your phone center didn't have a bunch of people in it. They were already like in their house answering phones.
I think they were actually in person. Also, I love the credit card companies. Like all of their COVID help ended in October, y'all. It ended. because the pandemic's over. Who knew?
Right? You're just like, okay, I don't understand. I'm pretty sure when I used to call, it would be like, I would just call people and they'd be like at their house anyways. So, I mean, if I can call psychics and porn and whatever,
Come home.
and they're at their home,
Yeah,
I'm
why
pretty
is the
sure
call center?
somebody could figure out how to call people at their houses.
Yeah.
I really don't understand why I can't call like somebody from the city and they're just like, yeah, we just transfer that to their home.
Oh, well, I feel like the city falls under DMV, which falls under the IRS, which is they just say, fuck you, and they're just not answering the phones anymore.
That is correct.
Yeah.
That is correct. They're like, I'm sorry, we don't work anymore, but we still get paid. Don't worry about it.
No, my God.
You're not even on furlough. We just get paid for not being here.
My gosh, I had a problem with the DMV too. And I just prayed that it was solved. And I think it was because they stopped sending me collection letters. So I think we're good.
That's okay. I switched my vehicles over to Nevada and California keeps sending me letters letting me know that I need to pay my registration in California. And I was like, does
when
Nevada
you're
not talk to
driving
you?
in California, you don't even have California plates anymore. Like it's totally irrelevant.
But doesn't Nevada let you know? Because I sent the plates back. So like Nevada requires me to give you my plates.
Right. No, apparently they're not talking because of COVID.
Well, because nobody's there because COVID. So once again, COVID, guys.
So actually, let's talk about this. Like the people who, I mean, obviously we don't want people coming in who are sick.
Yes.
We don't want people coming in who have been exposed.
Yes.
But also at the rate things are going, every other person you might have to cancel. So like, should you have a separate like COVID cancellation policy or what do you think about that?
I mean, I think that your cancellation policy should just be a cancellation policy across the board. And then it will just encompass COVID. You might decide you're just going to stick in, illness, and have a specific like illness clause in there. Like if you're ill, if you feel like you're ill, blah, 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 blah. I think because this is going to be a ongoing thing. And I really believe, like I had an illness policy where I was like, if you don't feel good, don't come in.
Mm-hmm.
And that was me before COVID. I'm like, if you don't feel good, don't come in. Call me, let me know, because I probably won't charge you. Just
I don't want to know
you don't feel good.
Yeah.
If you're a repeat offender, we're going to have a conversation.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and I literally tell people, I'm like, so this is your third time where you suddenly don't feel good. Like that person who's like always on their period just right before they see you. And you're like, I track your period, bitch. You just had your period 2 weeks ago. What?
She's like, I have endometriosis. You're an asshole.
You're like, well, you're about to be a not on my book ever again. Is what's going to happen.
Well, and so maybe, what you said too, in the case of illness, like contact me and you just leave it nebulous like that. And then that gives you, but already in your head or even written on your computer, whatever, have a policy in place that you can then pull out. So that you feel like I'm prepared. I've thought about it. I have something, but I can still also be flexible and be a human,
Yes, absolutely. And I love that idea. So, and I am with your client, you also might want to really be upfront with them about the fact that like, if you're not feeling good, I don't really want to see you, but please let me know so that we can chat.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right. I do want to talk to you.
I mean, at this point, why are people going places when they don't feel good?
I don't know.
My COVID exposure, the person there wasn't feeling good and wasn't wearing a mask. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
She's like,
I mean, at this point too, whenever I see people without masks, I'm just like, what's wrong with you?
Listen, I'm in Nevada right now, and I'm going to tell you, it's a very strange place because
nobody wears masks.
Be like, they don't always wear masks, or they wear them like, not right. If I see one more person who's just like got their mask on and they're just like, all what? And I'm like, I don't really understand how that mask is functioning. What?
It's a special, special mask.
It is.
All right. So we're in the new world, y'all. But hopefully you have enough in place to feel super comfortable, super confident in establishing some late fees. And again, you are going to make mistakes. You're going to have like flubs. You're going to mess up, but that's how you learn. Every opportunity is a chance to be like, how do I want to do that differently next time? But you have to start somewhere, and allowing people to cancel left and right and your books to have these holes that you're not being compensated for isn't fair to you.
Yeah.
So manage yourself first. What was the phrase you said again? You go handle that. And I'm going to think about this. I'll get back to you.
That's right. Right. You go handle that, and I'm going to think about this. I'll get back to you. Just understand that you can get back to somebody. You can think about it. It's going to be all right. And understand also, remember, you're going to feel afraid. You might get like the pit sweat. You might feel a little shaky. Just push through it. If you have to pretend like this is somebody else at the moment, it's okay. Dude, remember, you can always like say that you have somebody else you have to answer to. Be like, I have to run that by somebody.
Got to run it by the office manager.
Yeah, I got to run that by my office manager. I think I've told you this story many times. Catherine was my assistant for years, and people think that Catherine still works for me. And Catherine is the meanest. I can't make decisions without Catherine.
That's so funny. My dad had an online membership that was run by some lady named Linda, who was really just my dad writing emails.
Yeah. Yeah, no, like Catherine is the meanest. Like, I can't do that because Catherine said I can't. I asked her. She said no. It's not my fault.
I can't. Sorry.
I mean, she's kind, but she rules me like I don't like to get yelled at by Catherine.
No. So get yourself a Catherine. And by get yourself, I mean, make one up, set your late fees, and stand behind them. So it is super important to have something that you're comfortable with. But I know we have offered you many a chance, opportunities, different ideas. I'm actually going to go straight to my calendar software and put this cancellation policy in place. So thank you very much.
No problem. And guys, if there is something that you've been thinking about that's like a policy that you think that we should have talked about, let us know, because we make these because we talk to other estheticians, we talk to other owners, and we talk to each other. That's how we find these. So we could have missed something that we're like, oh my God, that's a great idea.
Yeah. So come find us on Instagram. The show is at Skinfessional. Sybil is at Your Skin Fitness Expert. And I am at Mala for Mala. Or you could give us a ring, a ling, a ding in our box.
Yeah. That phone number is 818-473-5277. And I'd love to hear from you via voice.
In our box.
In our box. It's true. All right, guys. So until next week,
keep your secrets to yourself.
Unless you're telling us.
Okay, bye.
Bye.